different scoreline, of course, from last season's fixture. Let's get straight into it, because two headers have undone Brentford, and the first one coming in from Saliba.
Yes, and it was a brilliantly timed run, Steve. He just nips in front of Tony, and we also see that there's nobody on that back post. How many goals have we seen? In fact, this weekend we've seen goals go in when there should have really been a man on that back post. But great timing of the run and a lovely little deft touch.
Yeah, his second for the club after that goal against Bournemouth. But defensively, Glenn, what did you make of it from Brentford?
Yeah, I think they could have stopped it. I mean, it's all about body shape in that near post. They've got two screens in there, and they had to get that better than they did, and we can see that.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the body shape here, Glenn, you think the person at the front post here is in a decent body shape.
De Silva's great. He's opened his body up. He's on the half turn. He's got no attacker near him, so he's having a little look and reassessing his position. But it's Tony is the problem for me with his body shape.
Okay, well, if you've got a point about body shape, can you illustrate us? Show us what you mean?
Okay. Yeah.
So, well, in the first instance, I think we've got the goal in behind us to the left.
Yeah.
And you're Ivan Toney, I'm Saliba, getting past you, and I just catch you unawares, nick in front and head it into that direction.
And I can't see you coming, at all. Now, if he had the same body shape as De Silva at the front on the half turn,
and I make the same run,
coming, the arm comes across, and the front shield, his job is to stay in front of any attacker. You can't do that if you're not seeing, and you just stay in front. And you clear the ball and the problem's solved.
So a simple, tiny little change, and it's avoided.
Yeah. Fascinating. Well, I'll come back over, because obviously Gabriel Jesus then made it 2-0. 4 Premier League goals already for Gabriel Jesus. Took him 24 matches last season to reach that total for Manchester City. This was all about the ball from Granit Xhaka.
It was a lovely ball, Steve. I know we think this probably could have been prevented as well, but he just ghosts into that position. Xhaka's got some, hasn't he? He's got some real ability to play this ball in. And Gabriel Jesus, he just peels off. I do question Ben Mee and his positioning, but once he gets in, it's a lovely header as well, and there's a man full of confidence at the minute, even in his dancing ability.
Yeah, what a difference he's made to Arsenal. So, once again, Glenn, Brentford's point of view.
Fabulous goal going forward. I've got to say, beautifully flighted ball, as Michael said, but the defending here, you've got to be switched on, and the ball played out to Tierney here, 1v1. De Silva does the right thing. So you can't leave your man 1v1 with that space in behind as well. So he comes and gives him the natural cover very quickly, but it's the other players that then in midfield areas that have got to go with him. So as he doesn't want that 1v1, so he comes across off Xhaka. The next one has to come out to Xhaka. Xhaka's got too much spit, and you might actually even think then he slides on if there's any danger there, and you leave that player spare because he's not going to hurt you.
So that should happen quicker.
Much quicker. As soon as he sees De Silva going over to give his mate cover, he's got to be on the next engagement, and he's got to get his head down.
And then that?
There, exactly. And then there's your less dangerous player. And as that ball comes in there, he's got time to look up, set it, doesn't get tight enough, and that is when the movement, the eye contact between Jesus and Xhaka is beautiful. It's a great header, but you've spotted something with me as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm just going to rewind that slightly as well, Glenn, because I totally accept what you're saying, but I really, for the life of me, can't understand Ben Mee in this position here. I don't know where he goes. I think he's absolutely in a fine position. He's blocking it, and all of a sudden he makes this decision, probably to play offside or to squeeze the play. Yeah. And Jesus just runs into his area.
I think Ben Mee's absolutely spot on if he gives a communication. Yeah. Step up. And then your mate comes up with you and you leave Jesus offside. But he's just done it off his own back. He's gone on, and you can't do that in that split second. The ball foot, it's too late.
Absolutely fascinating insight, gentlemen. Thank you very much indeed. Frustration for Brentford.
Mikhail, we'll start with your team this lunchtime. We noticed no Martin Odegaard or Alexander Zinchenko. What can you tell us there?
Yeah, they are both injured and not available for the game.
Any timescales on either of them? Is it short term?
I don't know. We have the international break right now, so it's going to give us a break. There are two different things, but we don't know yet.
I suppose with injuries come opportunity, especially looking at that bench, some young faces on there, particularly Wanyeri, just 15 years old.
Yeah, we have the opportunity now to bring young players. Obviously, we had some injuries in the last few weeks, and we are pretty short. But again, opportunities come when other issues arise.
As you return here to Brentford today, walking through these corridors, what are the memories that come back to you from last season?
A great learning day. This is how I describe it. And when you have tough moments, difficult situations in your life in football, which is going to happen, is how you take the most out of it, learn from those experiences, and go to the next one.
With that, when you look at the progress that you've made in the last 12 months or so, how do you think your side now compares to then?
That's something that we have to show on the pitch. Obviously, we have prepared the game the best possible way. We know what happened here last year, and we want to put it right, and that's the ambition of the team, but it's something that we have to now show on the pitch.
With the momentum you had before losing to United and the enforced break, how important is it that you come away with 3 points today before this international break?
Very important. We want to be again top of the table, and in order to do that we have to win here, and to win here we're going to have to play really well, perform and compete at the highest level, and that's how we have prepared.
So, Arsenal looking to get back to winning ways in the Premier League. Reminder that prior to that defeat at Old Trafford, they had won 5 out of 5, the only Premier League club to have done so this season. Glenn was mentioning they hadn't really had a test until then, but how would you assess those 6 games, apart from the results from what you've seen?
Well, for the negative people towards Arsenal around the world, they'll say that's what Arsenal always do. For the last 10 years, you could say they've been flat-track bullies. They win the games that they ought to win against the lesser teams, but as soon as they get given a real test, then they come unstuck. Looking at that, Glenn, that follows that pattern. However, it wasn't necessarily the case. They weren't so bad against Manchester United.
No, without a doubt. I thought they deserved at least a draw against United. But looking at that, I did feel that I looked at the fixture and thought they're going to have a great start to the season. They have, and Michael's right, the test came against United. It would have been, if they'd have played them a few weeks before, I think I'd have fancied them to beat United. They were going through a dreadful time. They picked up a couple of wins. They had a bit of momentum, and they lost the game. But they
For them at the end of last season, even when they survived, I thought, and then over the summer I didn't see them signing too many players. Obviously lost 1-2 top players as well. Then their best player was getting linked away. So I was starting to fear for them. But having watched them, I actually don't think they're a bad team at all. And I think there's definitely a belief within the fans, and that's key. If you lose the belief of the fans, that filters right the way through, and there's a belief there. The last couple of games I've seen them play, they've played very well. They were good in the derby against Liverpool. As Glenn said, inches away from getting the win there. I think that's a match made in heaven, Conor Cody going to Everton. Of course, everybody knows he's a massive Liverpool fan. But it just shows you opportunity. This is your life. This is your career. There's no time for, oh yeah, well I supported them as a kid, so, I'm never going to play. I mean, I felt that in my career. And the opportunity came for him, and it was a massive opportunity to play for a huge club. So I think it is a match made in heaven, and I think he's going to be a huge asset to Frank Lampard and his team. And I do feel that Everton are in a more positive position now, even though they're near the bottom of the table, than they were throughout last season. I think they're going to be all right.
Yeah, you get a feeling that from that interview as well, and when you listen to Frank and his staff as well, they're all on the same page. They're all working from the same page. I think he's been hit by injuries really badly, Frank. Everything seems to have gone bad for him, has gone bad for him. It's been negative. And he's coming through that, and they're still collectively together. They need that elusive win. They've had 4 draws. Now, are they what I call winning draws, or are they losing draws? What I mean by that is, you come off the pitch sometimes drawing thinking, we should have won that, we controlled that game, we're getting close, or have they come off thinking, we got away with that, we did well to get a draw? And I think that's what Frank would be always assessing. We're not far off it. Today is a great opportunity. West Ham at home. West Ham playing a bit hot and cold, aren't they, at the moment? This is a game for me which could kick-start Everton's league run up the league a little bit. But we'll wait and see.
Important game for West Ham, who start in the bottom 3. It's always a big fixture for David Moyes as well. Going back to Goodison, I mean, there you go. I mean, they've lost 4 games already. the Hammers this season.
Yeah, and the league is starting to take shape, isn't it, with the teams that you would think are going to be at the top, at the bottom. However, I can't see West Ham staying down there for too long. I think they've got too many good players. But Glenn's right, they've been hot and cold this season. Losing 4 games already out of 6 is not what you associate David Moyes with. I do think that Everton will be, in that bottom half, but I think they've got enough about them, enough about the club at the moment. It just feels like they're together at the moment, and I don't see any of the 2 teams being in those positions come the end of the season. But it's a very important game, because the longer you linger around there, the more you start questioning it. So anyone that gets 3 points today shoots up the league, and all of a sudden starts looking above them and not behind them.
Yeah, massive in the sense of if they get the 3 points, that's the one box. They tick that box. We've got to win. That will give them so much confidence for the next game. They can't wait for the next game. All right, it's international week, but at the moment, if they don't get that win again, say they draw again today against West Ham or even lose, it's that same dreaded feeling going into the next game, and they've got to wait again to burst that winning bubble. So it's massive for them. It really is. They're going to, they're not going to be together as a group of people. So how they go off, 3 points tucked under their belt, that's going to be a great feeling when they come back in together. If they've lost the game or drawn again, that'd be 5 draws. That's not good enough. That's sort of, you're still anxious. The anxiety's still going to be around that place. I think Goodison is a wonderful place when you're winning. When you're winning, they take the roof off. It's a bit old school, the stadium still, but they do actually get on the back of their team very quickly if things are not going so well. And you can see it. You can see it actually change in 20 minutes, 30 minutes. If they go 1-0 down, the players start to play in chains, whereas the other way, they get behind them incredibly, and the atmosphere there's fantastic. But it's that. What you're going to get, you get nothing in between.
Well, if Everton fail to win today, it'll be their worst start to a Premier League.